I found my way, but that's just because I said yes to a lot of things. Be clear with your intentions, be clear with what you want.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of FY Podcast, Finding Your Inspiration, where we find it and we follow it. We're in season 2 officially, and we are in Miami. And we're with the very talented, beautiful Janelle Marie Rodriguez. Woo. Janelle wears many hats like a lot of our guests. She is an artist, so she is an actress, model, influencer, and a producer. Janelle was also the lead in a film that I directed that was written by one of our producers, Norma Flores, and the film was called Nuestra Santa Lucia.
That's right. Hi.
What's up, Janelle?
Hi. Welcome to Miami. I thought you were going to introduce me as like Mrs. 305 since I'm like born and raised Miami. But
I like that, Mrs. 305, hashtag Pitbull.
Hashtag
keyword.
Miami-Dade County.
Miami-Dade County. Rick Ross, DJ Khaled, I don't know. Hashtag everybody that we could get some attention on it.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, it's funny because we met in LA. I spent so much time in LA, so I'm like fully Mrs. Bi-Coastal.
Yeah.
And I spent over 10 years in LA, so I think that I get to still represent the West Coast a little bit, but I still obviously very proud about my roots in Miami and Florida.
Dude, you're killing it. So you're here in Miami. I left out journalist. That is actually what you went to school
for,
to college for journalism. Mm-hmm. And you've done some amazing. I mean, I've seen on your social media, you've interviewed all kinds of talent. Tell us a little bit about the journalism side of you.
Yeah, no. So I went to Cal State Northridge, got my bachelor's in journalism. And fun fact, that wasn't the original intention. I really thought I was going to go to school to be a PA, like a doctor without the liability sort of thing. I thought I was going to study biology, found out I'm terrible at math. And the whole thing about me going to school, I mean, I always had aspirations to go to college, but I knew that right when I turned 18, I was graduating high school, I wanted to go to LA. I wanted to pursue like my dreams of being an actress, et cetera, et cetera. But the one rule in my family was you can go, but you got to go to school. And long and behold, through my beginning of studying, I found out about journalism. I'm like, I love to write. This is kind of like another way of storytelling. And that's what attracted me to getting into journalism, because it's like, as an actress, you're telling the writer's story, right? Yeah. You know, we're interpreting those words. But as a journalist, we're really like finding out real life stories and capturing that and sharing that with the audience. So I thought that was very intriguing. And with that, I learned how to like edit and write, produce, and do all the things. And really, journalism opened up the doors. I started more as like hardcore news journalist for KMIX Univision 34, where I was doing more like millennial-based stories. Fast forward, I got to work for Disney Channel, and I was a movie surfer. I don't know if you guys remember that back in the days, but it was like the Disney Channel movie surfers. They were big in the 80s and 90s, they kind of fizzled out. And then they brought this concept back in to Disney Channel, where they would do like a behind-the-scenes interviews.
Who stood out the most?
Oof. My humble brag was the fact that I got to interview Steven Spielberg. That was just kind of like a jaw-dropping moment for me to interview him and like meet him. I would love to work with him as an actress at some point, but like even getting the chance to sit down with him and talk about the movie that he made was like a big deal.
What was Steven like? I mean, he's...
Well,
Can't imagine.
He was very like quiet and chill. He was very kind, very calm. It was clear that he had like a great like friendship and connection with the actress, and was very giving, like very humble, down to earth, and chill.
Super cool.
It was very cool.
You didn't like slide a headshot to him, like,
no.
Oh, by the way.
You don't want to cross the line. I think that the problem is, especially in LA and in Hollywood, like we see it happen all the time. Like there's so many, unfortunately, like ladder climbing people.
Opportunists.
And opportunists, exactly, that's proper word for that. And it's like people get like desensitized, and it's like, oh, why are you approaching me? And like, I never want anyone to have that experience, like when I'm meeting them or whatever. Would I love to work and be like, yeah, hire me, you know? But if it comes in an organic place that they really feel a connection and they really believe in my talents, then like, yeah, let's do it. We'll go for it, and I'll kind of like wait for it to come my way.
Well, it's coming. Yeah. I always like to say too, hey, we're living, right? We're being creative. So, okay, so you're doing journalism?
I'm doing journalism, yes.
Where does that go? So you're doing that for 3 years?
Yeah, so to circle back, so I was at Disney Channel for about 3.5 years. That kind of, fizzled out. I started growing up a little bit. And then all at the same time, I had graduated college. I still was doing acting. Around the same time as Disney Channel is when I landed a role on The Last Ship on TNT, nice. Which was awesome. And I also did NCIS LA during that time as well. And then plot twist, I get an opportunity to work on with Monster Jam, which are like the big monster trucks, as a pit reporter. Nice. I have zero knowledge of vehicles at this point, but I still said yes. I'm definitely like a yes person. Like maybe I'm not as I'm a go-getter, but I'm not like in your face, like hire me, but I will say yes to any opportunity you send my way. And then the rest was history. I actually ended up being with Monster Jam probably another like 3-4 years. And even recently, like now I freelance and I'll go jump on like, a show for them here and there. Nice. But I was the first Latina to host a domestic tour in the United States with them, aside from like traveling internationally and like hosting Monster Jam at an international level. Yeah.
No, that's super. That's cool, man.
It was very cool.
It's funny. You just made me think, like when I got this podcast opportunity with this company, I created it with the founder and the head of marketing, and I knew nothing about podcasts. So I'm saying I did the same. I just started watching every podcast
possible. Yeah.
Obviously the big ones, the Joe Rogans, and then all the way down to like any friends who had podcasts. I'm like, let me watch, because I don't know how to interview people. I'm a actor, filmmaker, But
no, but I feel like that's the beautiful thing about interviewing people, is that it should feel like a conversation. It shouldn't feel like asking you a question now and you're gonna respond. Like the best podcasts are the ones that are organic.
Cool. So let me ask you. You mentioned your family. You wanted to do the acting and stuff, but I just caught that, and you said that to them it was very important that you could do it, but school had to happen. Tell me about that. Sounds like, is your family, what's your family background like?
My mom is definitely, she ended up moving to LA with me when I moved. My family, believe it or not, like my mom finished high school, but she didn't go to college, and my grandma studied in Cuba, but like they were not, I'm the first graduate in my immediate family like to leave there with a bachelor's degree. So I think it was just more like do what we couldn't do. And that's why like the education was so important to them. And also too, I mean, my mom's definitely has always been someone that likes to, put her kids first before herself. So she sacrificed a lot for me to be able to get that experience and like higher level education.
It's so important for people out there listening, especially our audience who a lot of our audience, live in affordable housing, and we do this podcast for people to kind of find a blueprint to what they want to do. So they might see you and go, wow, look at her. She's like a journalist and a producer and an actress. But it's very important what you're saying is you went and got an education. Yeah. And FAFSA,
it was, we didn't have the funds. Like I said, like I went to private school, but it was like financial aid the entire way through. Yeah. Cal State Northridge, same thing. Like thank you to California State taxpayers, because I went to school thanks to you, and I'm now paying it forward because I pay my taxes and I'm working and whatever. Right. So definitely I think that it's not a limit. Yes, like it's definitely a struggle and we glamorize it, but like education is definitely so important. Also keep in mind too, I always worked throughout college as well. Like my mom, let's go back in time, right? Mm-hmm. I definitely grew up as like a child actor here in Miami, and I worked as a kid on Sábado Gigante and whatever. So work ethic has always been a part of my life. When I turned 17, that I wanted to get my first car. Mom's like, yeah, I'm not paying for it. You know, I definitely had like my down payment ready because I had done like a McDonald's commercial as a kid, and my mom had like saved those funds for me. But she's like, my mom owns a party rental. So she's like, I'll give you two options. You can go work at the mall for like $10 an hour, or you can be a clown at birthday parties and make $65 to $75 an hour. I was like, I will be a clown.
Call
me JJ the clown. And that's how I ended up, because everyone's like, oh my God. Like everyone probably assumed that like everyone assumed that.
Wait, what was your name?
JJ the clown.
I love it. Okay.
JJ the clown. But everyone assumed that I was like this like rich clown because my first car, I do love my cars. I drove an Audi A5. Beautiful. White, cinnamon brown interior, all paid for by this girl, and clown weekends.
Clowning.
And clowning around is how I paid for that. But it was, you know, I sacrificed the weekends as a 17-year-old, you know, like still like junior, senior in high school. I was sacrificing my weekends. I would do 3 or 4 parties a day. Think about that, wow. 75 times 3. You know, I would get my lease payment in 2 or 3 weekends.
Nice.
And then I would be able to drive the car that I wanted. So, but that was such an important lesson and something that I take with me, because I was like, all right, never back down from like what you want, and like just do what you can to make it happen. Fast forward, I go to LA and I go to college. One of the other like off jobs as an actor that I never was a server, but I got really into guerrilla marketing. So I used to work for like Quest Nutrition, Sparkling Ice Water, like being those people at events that like pass out stuff. But I learned about like marketing, and like that was like, okay, like that opportunity ends up in my resume for me to end up building like the journalism resume, and like, well, I have like marketing experience. So like all these little things end up building opportunities to be able to, well, if I'm not in an acting job here, I can get a marketing job, I can get a producing job, I can get a journalist job, I can, you know, I found my way. But that's just because I said yes to a lot of things.
I want to jump into a little more, well, I don't know if it's dark or not, but let's get into, I want to talk about a time in your life that might have been, so the idea of finding your inspiration, right, is when did you hit a wall, and what did you do to overcome that? So for anybody listening, that because your story is so amazing and so broad, but let's talk about any difficulties you've had in your life that you found yourself.
I've had and currently have. No, so let's go back to, I'd say, the most difficult part, I'd say, was right before I started working at ESPN. That end of 2018, it was like I was kind of in between jobs at the time. Monster Jam had kind of fizzled out. It was kind of like, that's very much like a seasonal job. And there was just nothing. I was just auditioning, and it got to a point that I was literally writing out all my expenses, like, okay, you're gonna cut back on Starbucks, okay, you're gonna cut back on this or whatever, because I've always like supported myself and whatever. And it got to a point I had like $200 in my account. I was like I didn't want to bug my family at that point for anything. Right. So I was like now looking to even take like any off job or whatever. But at that point, just told myself, I'm like, just keep on applying, keep putting yourself out there. Freak accident in the sense of I got a email. This is why it's important to put your stuff out there on LinkedIn, on YouTube, with your contact information. I got an email from someone from ESPN saying, hey, like, we'd love to like have a meeting, you know, we're looking for a bilingual journalist. But I didn't believe that it was like real.
Yeah.
So I like cross-referenced and like looked this person up on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh my God, he's legit. That dark period, I just had to have like this undeniable faith. Like, even though I was like, my God, this is like, how did I get here? In the sense of like, I have like no money in my account. Like, I'm not like, what am I supposed to do? You know? Like, yes, I can call my family, but like I didn't want to do that.
Right.
Nor were they really like, they're also like very limited themselves.
And you feel like a failure. We all know that feeling. It's like, man, I don't want to.
Right. You don't want to like bug them.
You do if you have to, and it's nice to be able to, but you want to make it.
Right. I did have an undeniable faith that something will come about, because it always does. Like the reason why I have all these random jobs was because like, again, I would say yes to like the next open door. Yeah. And that next open door came through a random email from someone that saw me on socials, that saw like this potential that I had. And I ended up jumping on a phone call with them once I like realized on LinkedIn that this person was legit. We jumped on a call right away that day, and he was like, "Are you ever in New York?" Or, you know, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go to Comic-Con actually the following weekend." I take a meeting there, and we took a meeting in a New York coffee shop. I left Comic-Con. We met up in a coffee shop in New York, and had this conversation about the show that they're producing and creating at ESPN. And the conversation went well. That he was like, "All right, I want you to screen test for a pilot for me at ESPN in LA." I didn't see it. I didn't see it for a moment. Like, it was like, I saw it, and then I was like, when I saw like the names, and this is where like, I think they say comparison is a thief of joy. It was like, I started comparing myself to what these other people had, but like neglecting and like dimming my own light.
Your own potential.
I was dimming my own potential and my own light. And I was like, you know what? I may not have all the knowledge. I can get the knowledge. Let me just go in there and be myself.
Yep.
Like, as corny and cliche as that is, it was literally be yourself. I was funny and corny and quirky, and like, that's what sold producers. And they're like, all right, let's see. Like, I had like minimal knowledge. I'm diehard Miami fan through and through. So it was like, I was talking about the Heat, talking about the Dolphins, talking about, you know, I prepared certain things for that audition. And then that kind of just set off like my trajectory to getting, like, becoming more of a sports journalist, and getting into basketball more and all that stuff. So I think that just like in those darkest moments when you feel like there's no way out, there's definitely a way out. Always. There's definitely a way out, and you do have to control those thoughts, you know? And I see it happening, like, even now, like, because we're so hard on ourselves. Like, I do have these expectations, because I feel as an artist, and I'm sure you can relate, you feel like you go through this, like, this peak. It's like, oh my God, I'm doing everything that I set out to do. And then the drop is so hard.
Yeah.
When things are quiet, there's no auditions. My manager had dropped me. So I was like, oh my God, what's next? My agent's going to drop me. And it's like all these things, you know, like I'm kind of what got myself out of it, but I was going through like a dark period even now.
Yeah.
Because I felt that I'm drifting away from what that dream is or was.
Yeah.
But it's like, you have to accept, like, okay, this moment in time, producer J Money this is a chapter that's just going to like push me through the top for the next thing. So
absolutely.
I think that's like the important like takeaway is just like be in control of your thoughts and your mind, and like separate it.
Yeah, I like that, and always have faith that the path is there for you. I don't know. I like to say, you know, God helps those that do the footwork. I just keep doing the footwork. One other thing you mentioned, it's like and I think it's not just in career, but we always set these expectations of what we want. It starts as children. I want this, and sometimes we want. So it's like, oh, I want to be this actor. I want to be Robert De Niro. I want to, you know, win these Oscars. And I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's important for us to know that I believe everybody has greatness and everybody's great at something. And sometimes we don't know what our greatness is or what we're great at.
Absolutely.
Right? And that path, it's out there. And if we're doing the footwork, we're always going to get steered to it. So it's like your greatness might be as a journalist, it might be as an actress. It could be both.
It could be something completely different. And that's what it could be producing. You know, I think that's not, I totally agree with that, because definitely I feel like in the beginning of my career, it was very clear. Like, it was like very, very clear what I wanted. I had the vision board. I was like checking off the stuff on the vision board. Big believer in that. And then it was like this shift happened, and I'm like, I don't see anything. But that's like just like the being sad and meh, like about it. It's like I lacked clarity, because I was lacking belief in myself and what I'm capable of doing, because it was like, wow, like I just feel like I moved back to Miami, and like I moved, like all these things happened that I just felt like I killed my own dream type of thing. But the truth of the matter is, it's like, you may want something, and there could be a reason that God, or, you know, whatever you spiritually believe, is like pushing you like away from it, or like just taking you away for a little bit to redirect you to whatever is the next best thing that's going to come into your life. But it is hard to accept that and to move with the direction that your life is taking.
Change.
For sure.
We don't like change. Change is hard.
I was not planning on moving back to Miami.
Yeah.
No intention of moving back to Miami.
Right.
It was really the pandemic. At the time, I was in LA. I still had my apartment. I was still paying for my apartment there and living here still for like almost a year because I was like, I ended up subleasing it because that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not gonna leave LA for what? You know, I never saw myself coming back here. But if I didn't do that, if I didn't like embrace the change, embrace this like virtual reality, I was doing the show on ESPN the last year, like all virtually. Yeah. So I was able to, you know, do that here. I would have never been, I'm now a homeowner. Like if I wouldn't have not moved back to Miami, I wasn't able to like save the money to be able to buy, you know, my apartment and achieve certain things that at one point were I didn't think I'd ever be able to do.
Which is amazing. Which congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
too. That I mean, that's the American dream, and you're accomplished. It's so amazing. How do you feel about finding your own validation? Because what I'm hearing from you is such incredible feats, right? Being a homeowner, but you had to make a shift from the. How do you feel about looking, especially with social media? Yeah. We see our friends, we see other people doing things, and it always feels like everybody's
doing
killing
better.
it,
Yep.
no matter what. And in reality, they're feeling the
same thing.
It's so crazy how we as humans do that. Like, like I look at your life and I'm a huge fan.
It's not perfect, I swear.
But you know, but like I see social media and but I know you're doing great things.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's why I asked you to come on the platform. But what I'm saying is I see it.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you may not always. I mean, it sounds like you're coming to it now.
I'm coming to it now, but I definitely was in a rut before you invited me onto this podcast. No, look, I did find a good routine, and advise everyone to kind of have this like on their radar, a version of this. Like when I start getting in like negative Nancy spiral or like that funk, it's like I start setting like either a meditation or a gratitude journal thing. A lot of times like the anxiety comes from future thinking and future thinkers. We're thinking about, I wanted to do this, or like, what am I going to do this or whatever. So it's like now when I in a dark place, I will like wake up, wash my face with like cold water. I set time to do a guided meditation. If guided meditations are not for you, then I advise a journal. The reason why I like journal, and I like writing out the journal, this like mind to brain connection is like incredibly powerful, that I don't feel you get the same effect when you're typing. But when you're starting to journal, you may not even know, like, why am I in a bad mood? Like, you know, you start like thinking like, I have a roof over my head. I'm alive. I can see, I can breathe or whatever. I don't understand why, like, I'm like not in this happy space. But when you start, like, if you don't know how to journal, I would start with that. It's like, I don't even know why I'm writing on this, but I know that I'm annoyed. And then all of a sudden this like stream of consciousness will start going down on paper. And it's just so like alleviating. And you start to figure out as you're journaling, like, oh, that's a problem. I'm upset about this. So then you can create a game plan of like, this is what's bothering me. And like, how do I get to the root of the cause? But you do have to be disciplined enough and care enough about yourself and have that your own like self-discipline to go and figure out like what is bothering you, which a lot of times like you may not see it in the moment, but like tools like journaling or meditation, or, you know, if you're really just like prayer, will kind of, you'll find it. You know, it definitely is like a habit thing.
Love that.
Don't expect the first time and be like, dear God, I don't know what's wrong with me, and expect the answer to come. But you know, but if the more you do it every day, you know, it will come to you. Like the answer will come to you.
Routine is so important.
We are creatures of habit.
Yeah, and I do gratitude list, which is that. I just, you know, I call it gratitude list, but I do that almost daily. Yeah. When I get in that mood of like when I made like everything was acting. I wanted to just act and be in it. Right, we go through acting school, and I'm doing plays, and you know, when I got the opportunity to direct my own film, I realized like, man, I like directing. And it was such a high making the movie, and I thought this was like gonna move my career. Like, I'm directing an Oscar nominated actor. This thing is gonna like
turn it all around.
And literally the movie, I mean, it's finally premiering August 6th on streamers, but you know, people go, hey man, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, a buddy just called me that I like trained with. Yeah. And his career hasn't really booked
A lot,
anything, not even like a co-star on network, like it's a lot hard. Of actors, right? And he's just, to him, I'm like, he's like, bro, you did, like, we're all so proud of you. And I'm thinking like, yeah, man, it didn't hit the way I wanted it to hit. I'm thinking I'm going to win Sundance and I'm going to Cannes and but then I had to sit down, do a gratitude list and remember where I started, where I'm at, what's the percentage of filmmakers that actually get to make a feature. When I Googled that, like, these are trained filmmakers from USC and like big schools, Chapman. I didn't even go to film school. Yeah. And I'm like, it's like 97% will not or something. I mean, fact check that, but it's ridiculous. We'll never make a feature with an Oscar-nominated actor. And
like, that's the key, because sometimes my mom was good about, even though I always like my mom, like shh, shush it, but she would always like check me. She's like, I think you're being a little bit ungrateful. She's like, people would die and like wish they were doing what you were doing, or like wish that you had a platform like you had. Like, you're forgetting about the people that don't even have the opportunity to do that. Just like, granted, you put your hard work into creating this platform, but like, continue to grow it and continue to nourish it. Because I'm someone that, as like, I can go through these like hardworking and like hustling like phases, but then like, if I'm not inspired, like, I will neglect it, and like, I should be doing the opposite. I should be okay. And those times that I don't want to do it is really when I should be pushing myself to do it. I think like consistency is definitely one of like my biggest flaws. I have such a lack of consistency, and that is one of my goals, I think, for 2024, is to get back on that boat and start, it trickles into all parts of your life, right? Sure. But with your like health and fitness, career, like, you want to grow on socials, but are you posting every day? No. Right. Are you creating the content that you said that you're going to do? No. So, but who's responsible for that? Right. No one else. We are responsible ourselves. Yeah. So it's like, it's good to have these like self checks and be like grateful, like, that you know how to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, you're right. Taking responsibility. We are beating ourselves up in this episode. I know. I love that. Another thing I want to say about on this topic, consistency and also being grateful, is that's what I was going to lead to. After making the film, I never imagined doing a podcast. Like, literally, when this opportunity came, it's because of my film. So I just wanted to say that what happened was the manager of a building I live in LA, I had become friends with. He's from Compton. He passed away last year, which Maurice, rest in peace. But he's from Compton. This guy, we became friends over the years, and he would see me like rehearsing in the rec room. I'd bring actors, do stage readings, and I live in Downey, which is like 25 minutes out of Hollywood suburb. So, there's not a ton of actors there. So kind of what we were doing was cool to the manager. Oh, that's cool. And back in his day, he was into music, hip hop. Okay. And he had worked with Dre. And but he never like pursued it fully. He just, ended up getting into working and managing apartments. And so anyways, what I'm trying to say is we became friends, and he respected my grind. I'm driving Lyft all night. He would see me, and so long story short, when my movie, we did like a little private screening in Downey. So I invited him and his wife. He brought the maintenance guy. He was like, hey, my wife's busy, but can I bring the maintenance guy? Who's a Latino, Chicano from also South Central. Okay. Maurice, a black guy from Compton. They came to the movie. They had no idea what the movie was about. Bro, they're in the back of the theater dying. Like, yo, they love the movie so much because it's very, you're in it. Yes. Janelle's in the movie. They were so excited about it. He called the main office and was like, hey, we got this guy living in our building. Like, he made a legit movie. I thought it was like going to be a little, but it's like legit. Like, it's real. Yeah, Mickey Rourke's in it. And so the owner and the head of marketing had been looking to create something to inspire residents. So that's how all this came about. They flew me to Utah, met with the board of directors. But you see, you just never know. That's what I'm going to what you were saying. I was open. I took the call. Yeah. It was a Zoom. I didn't know who Jeff was, the founder. I didn't know how powerful or how amazing this man was. Yeah. He owns soccer team. I mean, this guy's awesome. He's legit. So same what you were saying earlier. Yeah. So I'm like taking the meeting until he was like, hey, let's book him on a plane. Let's get him out to Utah.
after I hung up, I'm like, I don't even know who I'm talking to. And I'm like, oh, long story short, I was open to ideas. So we created this podcast, and I remember going, podcast? Man, I'm a filmmaker, man. I'm going to be the next Scorsese, dude. Like, you know, to me.
What am I doing a podcast
What am I doing
for?
This I'm a narrative filmmaker. And this podcast, what I'm trying to say, I love it now. I love it. It's changed my life. Man, I meet so many like cool people, and
you get to know more about people, like in depth. It's definitely like tricky. Like I love the podcast space. It is getting like a little bit saturated. I've been dying to start my own podcast literally since 2020, but I overthink too much of like, does it need to be niche, needs to be specific and whatever. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? Like you should. Putting yourself out there could even lead to more opportunities. Someone listening to your podcast, like, oh, he's a film director too. Like, it can be reverse effect. You know, maybe they like find you through the podcast, and then you end up directing another movie.
Yeah.
I just think that it's true. I mean, calm. Yeah, exactly. It's true. I mean, I just think that at the end of the day, in this digital day and age, I think the more exposure and the more open we are, and just saying yes to things and forgetting about what other people think, because I am victim to that. I care too much about what other people think. I think that way we limit ourselves if we think too much what other people think, and you just do it. Like if you're watching this and you're like, I have a dream or aspirations to be a content creator, a journalist, whatever, just do it. Go out to your local, if your local bakery has a story, a really interesting story, like capture the owner of it and like, how did you get into baking or whatever, make your own like journalist story. Or if you're a content creator and you love hair, do it with the limited tools. Like even it's like, hi, I'm doing a Dollar Tree, get ready with me.
Yeah.
And these are the looks that you can create by like going to the Dollar Tree. Like do what you can with your resources, and eventually the bigger brands and the other opportunities will start coming. Yeah,
and also, how do you feel about also not living not living in expectations? It's like just go create. Yeah. I heard Scorsese was doing an interview about filmmaking, and he said, "Listen, you guys are in the best time of filmmaking." He said, "What happened for me was amazing, but I was in a time of." The studios handpicked people, and you made big blockbuster movies. He was, and that's amazing. It's been an honor. He said, but today you can make movies
on your
for
iPhone.
Very cheap on your iPhone. He goes, the real idea of making a movie is just to take photos, take videos, and create a narrative and entertain people. Yeah. He goes, you can invite your family and friends. So what you're saying is like, if you're out there and you're a content creator and you're passionate about the gym, or you're passionate about any sewing, knitting, do it. Just create that. Don't worry about being like Joe Rogan having 10, 50 million people watching your video. If that happens, that's great. Yeah. But this is an art form.
But even Joe started from the bottom. Like his podcast wasn't an overnight success. You know what I mean? Like he did great, and like now we all have aspirations to be that. Or even for like the women, like call her daddy or call you daddy, whatever her podcast is. Like it took 5 years to really become what it is today. Right. And getting those stars. Like very rarely do we see like a Bobby situation.
Yeah, Bobby's
that it was just, over like what seems like an overnight success. That is rare, but she put herself out there and was able to do it. So I just think it just takes starting. True. And I also will take that piece of advice for myself. So you audience and myself, we will do that.
Janelle's podcast coming soon.
Yes.
Actually that segues into where I wonder, as we kind of close out. I know your time is precious. It may lead into this doing the podcast, you doing the podcast, but where are things going now? What's the plan?
Yeah. I mean, so right now, producer J Money is still like very much happening and producing podcasts. I'm also getting into development. So right now I work for a company called Entertain Studios, where we do cater to a lot of like Latin-based stories, but not only on the unscripted side, but also on the scripted side. So I'm working on like script writing. I'm working on development of shows on both formats. So right now I'm just growing that. The world is my oyster. I don't really have anything up like really in the books of upcoming projects that I can be like, stay tuned for that. Yeah. But you can stay tuned on my social media. The only thing I am working on right now, which is very random, if you're like a content creator or someone that wants to get into that space, Amazon has Amazon live streams now. So I do have a partnership with Amazon where they have me doing like weekly live streams, which is fun. Because I feel like live streams are a cool way to connect with people and just different storytelling abilities. So that's what I'm doing right now until further notice. I mean, maybe next time we chat, I have something even more exciting. But
yeah, well, everything's already been exciting till now. Yeah. What I like to do with guests as we close out, I like to put you on the spot. I'd like you to hit your camera over there. And for anybody that's at home that might be relating to you, maybe they have dreams and aspirations to follow kind of the footsteps you've done. You've laid out a blueprint a little bit about how you you went to school, how FAFSA, and what advice do you have for them that are sitting at home going, man, I think I could do it, but maybe I can't do it?
I think be clear with your intentions, be clear with what you want, and find out the purpose, like not the validation, not the external validations, awards, and like, I want to be known. Like figure out what is your purpose, like why do you enjoy storytelling, and then come up with the plan. Like right now, if you're like starting scratch zero, okay, what is step one? Okay, I'm going to dedicate once a week to upload a video, or twice a week. Like set clear expectations and a timeline. Like a dream is just a dream, or like a goal, like until you put it on paper and then you have a deadline. Like create a deadline for yourself, and I feel like within the next 3 to 6 months you will see a change if you're consistent on it. So that would be my best advice.
I like that. All right. Well, I'm going to close this out here, Janelle. Everybody, thank you for watching. This is another episode of FYI. A couple things I took from this interview. Janelle had the support of a hardworking, loving family who believed in her and also walked each step of the way in support. Janelle stays open to opportunities. I think that was the most important thing that I took out of this was do the footwork. I always say, God helps those that do the footwork. Do the footwork and know that life can move in different directions and opportunities come in different places, just like it did for me as an actor going into filmmaking and now doing a podcast, which I love. I travel around the country and I interview inspired people. As a kid, I always dreamt to have a job where I traveled around and I actually got paid to just travel and see the world, and I never would have imagined this is how it would end up, and it did. I don't know if this will last forever, but I'm open to all opportunities, and I just stay in the day, in the moment, and seize the opportunities I can. So that's what I got out of this. Hard work definitely pays off. Janelle does the work, and she gets the result. She came back to Miami. She's a homeowner. She's working. She's creating. She's producing. She's open to wearing multiple hats. And in that, she still does her gratitude list, meditation, and finds a reason. She also takes care of herself. I know this with fitness. Nutrition and health is so important. So I'm working on myself. I'm battling my demons, and I get inspiration from people who come on the show and share theirs. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.